What's up, YouTube? This is Strader here, bringing you guys my 2 cents on the brand new Pokemon games coming out in October, known as Pokemon X and Pokemon Y version. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and just talk a little bit about what happened. Basically, Nintendo decided to announce this morning that new games were gonna be released in October, worldwide, all at the same time. So that means Japan, America, and the UK will all be getting the game at the same time, which is a very good play on Nintendo's part. And we didn't see a whole too much about the games in the trailer. Like, basically we saw some of the new worlds, which was, not new worlds, I'm sorry, the cities basically. One of them, there was like some Eiffel Tower in it, and the graphics were really amazing, by the way. Then we saw some of the Pokemon from previous generations, such as Golurk, Mienfoo, Psyduck, and Magikarp, just to name a few. But then we get into the real catch. 5 brand new Pokemon were, announced. Basically, we have the free starters, which was Grass, Fire, Water. Then we get our 2 legendaries, so I'm just going to go ahead and just talk about them for a while, mainly on looks and competitive aspects. I don't know. Anyways, for the grass starter, we got some kind of rodent-looking thing called Chespin. And from the looks of it, it might be, I don't know, maybe it could be a grass dark once it hits its final form. And then for the fire starter, we got a fire fox, in before browser jokes. Its name is Fennekin, and like I said, it basically looks like a little fox. This one actually looks pretty promising, because if it becomes a fire psychic type, then it'll basically be breaking the firefighting starters that's been going on since Gen 3, which is really stupid, and we need a new kind of dual fire type thing, I don't know. Then for our last starter, which is the water starter, we got some kind of frog toad thing called Froakie. This one looks more like a water fighter in my opinion, because of the fact that he just, I don't know, he looks like a Seismitoad mixed with a Toxicroak, which is pretty interesting. But I'll get back to the starters in a while. I want to move on to the legendaries right now. For our Pokemon X mascot, we have, well, the names weren't given for the mascots, but for the Pokemon X mascot, we have a deer, and it looks like it has, like, antlers, and there's, like, Christmas lights on the antlers, so it's, like, really weird looking, but in my opinion, it's kind of like, I don't know about this one. It's kind of a weird concept. It's basically, how do I want to put this? I don't know. It's like an adoptive father of fucking Stantler. I don't know. And as for the Pokemon Y mascot, this one looks so promising. Oh my god. Here we have a giant-ass bird that looks like Neo Bahamut from Final Fantasy VII, but according to Map Crimson Cobra, it's basically a Honchkrow that fucked a Mandibuzz, which makes no sense, but at the same time, it's a badass looking bird. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about him. But now I'm just going to talk about the competitive aspects of the 5 Pokemon, and just give my 2 cents on what they could be. As for Chespin, I'm going to start there. Basically, I said there's a possibility of him being a, Grass Dark, and if that is the case, then he will probably be more of a mixed attacker, or not a mixed attacker, full-on physical attacker, because of the fact that most rodents, they don't really use, like, special kind of abilities. Like, take Eradicate, for example. He was a full-on physical attacker, so that leads me to believe that Chespin will become a physical attacker, physical sweeper with, like, I don't know, 100, 105 base attack and pretty high speed. Maybe in around 90s, 95, possibly. Could probably even hit 98, I want to say. And then, yeah, as for the defenses, though, it probably won't be that bulky. Probably will be standard, like, 60, 70. Then as for HP, maybe like 78, I don't know. That's what I have to say. Probably its most standard moves are probably going to be Leaf Blade, Night Slash, and basically filler moves. It'd be really nice if this Pokemon does get Swords Dance, because then it could become a really prominent sweeper, especially with the spread I was talking about with 78, 100, 105, and all that shit. It could probably be maybe in the RU or NU tier. It would become a very powerful physical sweeper in that tier. That's basically what I have to say about Chespin. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just move on to the fire type now, which is known as Fennekin. And here I said it might be a fire psychic type, which would be a really great typing for it, mainly because now we don't have a weakness to psychic, and we don't have a weakness to flying anymore with this fire starters, because the past 3 generations, they were all firefighting, and that's just the same weaknesses of psychic and flying and all that shit. So here we have this fire psychic type that's going to break the ice and just say, hey, you know what, shut the fuck up, we're done with these firefighting types, right? And for the first time since 2nd generation, this might be a special attacking fire starter, which would be really nice to see. So there's a possibility this might be more of like, I want to say like a specially defensive Pokemon, or not specially defensive, I'm sorry, but it's going to have a nice amount of special defensive bulk with high special attack, and it's going to have pretty decent speed, but it's going to be having lackluster defenses, obviously. So if it's more of like a calm-minding sweeper, then it could become a pretty prominent threat. Mainly, I would see this one in UU, because if it has fantastic speed and high special attack, then a +1 Fire Blast or a +1 Psychic from this thing is really going to wreck your day. So Fennekin is looking pretty competitively promising, in my opinion. So now we're going to go ahead and just move on to the final starter, which is the water starter named Froakie. Obviously, it is a toad thingy, and it looks like a water fighting type. Maybe I think this is going to be more so a very slow Pokemon as usual with the water starters, but it's going to have pretty neat bulk, and it's going to have pretty nice, decent attack. Probably like, I want to say for its HP, it's going to have like about 85 in that. Then it's going to have about 88 in attack. As for defenses, both of them will probably be like 90 or 95. Then for the special attack, that'll be like 83. Then for the speed, it'll probably be like 50 or 55. So I'm thinking mainly, if this Pokemon actually gets bulk up, then it would become more of like a physical attacker with Waterfall and maybe, I don't know, Drain Punch for its stab moves. Or even if it gets Aqua Jet, that would be an interesting thing too, because then you get a bulky attacker with bulk up who gets a priority move. Basically, it's like a slower and weaker version of Feraligatr, because he gets a priority move, but he'll probably have higher attack than Froakie and all that stuff. So that's my 2 cents on the starters. I'm going to go ahead and just move on to the legendaries, then I'm going to call it a day. For the deer, I'm thinking this is probably going to be more like a grass psychic, maybe. Probably a grass psychic, like, because the deer kind of represents like the nature element, so that's where the grass typing comes from. But based on how it looks and the fact that its antlers are glowing like Christmas lights, that could be the point where the psychic typing comes into play. So that's telling me this is probably going to be more like a fast Pokemon with lackluster defenses, but it's going to have really high attack, or not attack, special attack. So this could probably be like one of those Pokemon with nasty plot, and then it's going to have dual stab with like Leaf Storm or Focus Blast, Focus Mist, and one of the hidden powers. Probably, I want to say hidden power Fire, mainly to deal with the bug typings, because if this turns out to be a grass psychic type, then Bug is going to become a very powerful threat to this Finn, so you're going to want to run HP Fire to take those out. So that's what I have to say about him. But finally, we're going to move on to my absolute favorite Pokemon of 6th Gen so far, which is nicknamed Satan Bird, aka Neo Bahamut, aka Mandibluzz plus Honchkrow. So this Finn is looking to me, there's like 2 possibilities with this Finn. Well, 3 of them actually. The first one could be a dark flying type. The second one could be a psychic flying type, which would be really interesting because we only have like one other psychic flyer. But then here's an interesting one I thought of. What if it's actually a dark psychic with levitate? Just think about that for a second, because that would be pretty interesting. But the only problem with that is that if it were a dark psychic, then that would mean both Satan Bird and Mr. Deer would be very weak to bugs, so maybe bug types will rise in usage if that's the case, but still, it would be very nice because then, if it had, well, anyway, even if it's not Dark Psychic with Levitate, it's still probably going to be a flying type, and that way it'll be able to dodge stuff like spikes, toxic spikes, which is a very good thing to have on your team, so that's what I have to say for that. As for his move pool, it'll probably be shallow, but it's going to be really powerful. Like, there's a chance this thing could probably get, like, its own kind of, what do you call those things? Like, it's basically like one of those signature moves. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it might get its own dark signature move if it's Dark Psychic, which would be pretty interesting. It's probably going to have, like, a high attack, then maybe, like, a recharge turn. We don't know yet, but as for its Psychic typing, basically it's just going to be Psychic for main stab, or Psyshock to take on, especially defensive Pokemon. So, in my opinion, this Pokemon is looking more like it could be, like, a mixed attacker with, like I said, its signature dark move and psychic, or it might even be able to use a physically attacking set with like Brave Bird or U-Turn or Zen Headbutt or even Night Slash. Hell, I don't know. You can just think about it, I guess. So far, 6th Gen is looking pretty interesting, and with the more Pokemon that we see, the competitive aspect of the game is going to be really wild this year. Like, especially when it comes to the tiering process, like, with all the new Pokemon that is going to be released, like, the tiers will all be flip-floppity. There might even be a good Chansey counter for you and UU to use. There will be counters to rain teams to use in OU. It's going to be really interesting to see, and I look forward to this very much. So that's all I have to talk about today, guys, about Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. If you want to leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions on him, go ahead and just type them below. And I'm out of here. I guess I'm going to go do things now. So that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks again for listening to my opinions and thoughts. This is Strato signing out, and ciao.